In just 8 minutes, discover 10 shocking takeaways from Andrew Huberman's talk with genetics expert Melissa Ilardo on how your habits curse your grandkids, human evolution, sex and smell in mate choice, spleen superpowers, and gene editing ethics. Takeaway 1. Your behavior changes how your genes work. Genes are not fixed blueprints. They are more like switches that can be turned on or off depending on what you do. The field studying this is called epigenetics. Your choices, like what you eat, how you move, and how you handle stress, can directly affect which of your genes are active. For example, trauma can leave chemical tags on your DNA that get passed down to your children. This means you are not only shaping your own health, but possibly your future generations too. For example, people who endured the Dutch famine hundreds of years ago passed on genetic changes to their grandchildren that helped them survive famine, but may now lead to obesity in times of food abundance. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 2. Rapid changes in gene expression are possible. Your body can react quickly to your environment by changing how your genes express themselves. This means your body can adapt to new situations in real time without waiting for evolution. A powerful example is how your spleen contracts during breath holding to release oxygen-rich red blood cells into your system. This improves your oxygen availability by about 10% almost instantly. The dive reflex that causes this can be triggered just by putting your face in cold water. For example, some elite athletes are now using short breath holds in cold water to enhance oxygen use during performance. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 3. Behaviors can change organ function over time. When a behavior is repeated over a long period, it can physically reshape organs. One striking example is how the Bajau people, also known as sea nomads, have developed larger spleens after generations of deep-sea diving. The spleen acts like a natural scuba tank, storing oxygen-rich red blood cells. In this population, the spleens of both divers and non-divers are 50% larger than those of neighboring communities who do not dive. This suggests the trait has become genetic through natural selection. For example, families that have dived for centuries might carry genes that naturally grow larger spleens in their children, even if those children never dive. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 4. Human evolution is still happening today. Many people think human evolution is a thing of the past, but that is not true. Evolution is still shaping us, especially in populations exposed to specific environmental pressures. When a trait helps survival or reproduction, it becomes more common over time. For example, Tibetans living at high altitude developed a special gene for processing oxygen efficiently. Interestingly, this gene came from an ancient species called Denisovans, not modern humans. This shows how interbreeding with other hominids contributed to our evolution. For example, if people from distant populations mix today, new helpful combinations of genes could appear much faster than in the past. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 5. We choose mates by their smell and immunity. Human attraction goes deeper than looks. Studies have shown that people are more drawn to the body odor of others who have immune systems different from theirs. This helps ensure that their children will have a broader immune defense. The science behind this lies in something called the major histocompatibility complex, or MHC, a group of genes that helps your immune system recognize threats. In one study, women smelled t-shirts worn by men and consistently preferred the scent of those with different MHC genes. For example, you may have unknowingly felt more chemistry with someone just because your immune genes clashed in a good way. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 6. Smarter mate choices protect future generations. Nature has mechanisms to discourage inbreeding, and many of them operate below our awareness. When people mate with close relatives, the risk of passing on harmful mutations increases. This is why incest has long been discouraged, even before genetics was understood. On the flip side, selecting a genetically different partner can lead to stronger offspring. This is called hybrid vigor. For example, populations that historically stayed isolated tend to have higher rates of certain inherited diseases, while mixed populations may have better resistance to infections. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 7. Freediving shows the body's extreme limits. The sea nomads of Southeast Asia and the Haenyeo women divers of Korea show how human bodies can adapt to extreme challenges. These people dive deep underwater, holding their breath, often for several minutes. Their bodies have learned to conserve oxygen through slowed heart rates and increased red blood cells. The Haenyeo, mostly women in their 70s and 80s, dive in cold water without much gear, sometimes while pregnant. For example, one 81-year-old diver continued to work daily, showing how adaptation and training can extend physical capacity far beyond what is considered normal. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 8. Spleen function can be trained and inherited. The spleen plays a surprisingly important role in diving by acting as a reservoir for oxygen-rich red blood cells. When you hold your breath, the spleen contracts and releases extra oxygen into your system. This effect is enhanced in people with larger spleens. Some of this is trainable through repeated breath holding, and some is genetic. In studies on mice, those with certain thyroid hormone levels had naturally larger spleens and more red blood cells. For example, athletes might use cold water breath holds not just for oxygen boosts, but potentially to train their spleens for better performance. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 9. Gene editing raises ethical questions. While gene editing can now treat diseases, it opens a debate about what changes are acceptable. Editing genes in adults to cure disease is more accepted than editing embryos, where changes will pass on to future generations. This leads to complex questions about consent, fairness, and unintended consequences. For example, changing one gene to fix a disease might unknowingly affect other traits like intelligence or temperament, especially since many genes have multiple roles in the body. Now let's move to the next takeaway. Takeaway 10. Longevity may link to diving and cold exposure. Some long-living populations include people who swim and dive regularly. While no direct proof yet links cold water diving to longer life, the evidence suggests it supports better immune function, stronger cardiovascular systems, and mental resilience. For example, in Korea, the Haenyeo women continue diving into their 80s and even 90s, often living healthy lives into old age. Their lifestyle of cold water exposure, physical activity, and community bonding may all contribute to their long health span, even if we do not yet fully understand how. Here is a brief introduction about Melissa Ilardo. Dr. Melissa Ilardo is an evolutionary geneticist and assistant professor at the University of Utah. Her research focuses on human adaptation to extreme environments, notably studying the genetic adaptations of indigenous breath-hold diving populations like the Bajau sea nomads of Indonesia and the Haenyeo divers of Jeju Island, Korea. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support this channel, hit the thanks button below. It really helps us keep going. If you enjoyed this summary, please leave a like and share it in your WhatsApp groups. To join discussion about this video, drop a comment below. And for more videos like this, hit the subscribe button below.